Are you thinking about buying a fixer-upper? Well, in this video, we're going to tell you everything you need to know. Stay tuned. What's up everyone, Andrew Lake here with the Lake team in Houston, Texas. Welcome back to our channel. We have another fantastic video for you today and one of my absolute favorite topics, talking about fixer-uppers, fix and flips, or buy and holds, whatever you want to call it. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and smash that subscribe button down below if you haven't already. And we try to produce the best real estate content to produce you guys each and every week. And with that being said, let's go ahead and move into today's topic, which is about fixer-uppers. First things first, if you're thinking about buying a fixer-upper, it is a fantastic way to build wealth through equity. And it's not really called forced appreciation. That's more of along the lines of rental property, but I like to call it forced appreciation because you're forcing appreciation by remodeling a property, remodeling the house. But I love fixer-uppers and I think it's a fantastic investment, and if you're thinking about doing it, this video is just for you. We've done tons of research on it. We've actually flipped tons of houses before in the past, but it is a fantastic way to build wealth through equity. First things first, you need to establish if this fixer-upper is going to be for you personally or as an investment. There's a big difference, and the reason why is if you're doing this as an investment, maybe like a fix and flip or a buy and hold, but in this case we're going to say fix and flip. If you're going to flip this house, you need to, because there's different formulas, so you need to understand that there's a certain percentage, like if you want to do the 70-30 formula, whatever, but you need to understand what profit margins that you're going to be around. What do you feel comfortable with taking and what do you not feel comfortable with taking? It's basically like, where is my limit? Like, I don't want to go below $30,000 in profit, or this fixer-upper is just not for me. It's not worth my while. Or if it's on the flip side of things, if it's for your personal house, personal investment, those things don't really matter too much because you don't have a lot of expenses, let's say like hard money loans and things like that. You're basically buying this house for yourself, and you're going to do the fixing upping, and you're going to live in the house, and you're going to build wealth through the forced appreciation, which I just mentioned. I call it forced appreciation, but you're going to build wealth through remodeling the property, and you're building equity into the house, immediate equity once it's done, and then you're living in the house. So you're living in the house. On top of that, you're paying down your payments, right? Your mortgage is going down. I mean, your principal on your loan is starting to go down, and then also you're taking advantage of a historically appreciating asset, which is real estate altogether. So you need to just distinguish the difference between the two, and which one are you going for? Is it going to be for your personal investment, or is it going to be, a personal house, or is it going to be an investment? So should you buy one? That answer all depends on you. That all answer depends on what you're comfortable with taking on. Are you comfortable with taking on a fixer-upper? Are you not comfortable with taking on a fixer-upper? Do you know the expenses that are involved with, picking up a house that needs some work? All these things you need to take into consideration as well. If you should, I think anybody should buy a fixer-upper and give it a shot, really. But there are certain things you need to have in place, like contractors. You need to know some people, get some quotes on things, know how much it's going to cost you. But when it comes to building wealth, and when it comes to whether it's your personal house or an investment, I think anybody should, buy a fixer-upper at one point in their lives and just experience. I think overall, once they experience that, what goes into repairing a house or remodeling a house, they start to gain experience, and I think that experience is second to none when it comes to real estate and for your own personal residences. You now have an upper hand over a lot of people that have never done it before. You gain that knowledge, you gain experience, and you understand what it takes to remodel a house. So real quick, I want to touch on why you shouldn't buy one. You shouldn't buy one if you think that you're going to get rich super quick by fixing and flipping houses, or if you think you're going to get super rich by just living in the house. It doesn't work that way. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of investment. And if you think this is going to be something super easy, you're not going to fight about it with your spouse, or if you think it's going to be easy just you going at it alone, whatever the case is, that's simply just not true. It's not an easy thing to do, and if you're living in the house, that definitely isn't easy either, because think about it, if you're living in the house and you're remodeling your entire kitchen, well, guess what? You don't have a kitchen until the kitchen is done, right? So you're gonna go without a kitchen for a while. And if you have the financial ability to make prior arrangements, like you're going to go stay in a rental or short-term rental for a couple of months until the kitchen's finished, then by all means go for it. But you need to understand the different circumstances that are involved with fixing and flipping a house. And if you're not comfortable with those things, then you probably should not buy a fixer-upper. So when you're buying a fixer-upper, what's cool about it is you're not buying a house at full market value. Most of the time you are getting it at a lower market price. You get it at a lower price, and you have that room, you have that ability to pump some money into the house to make it your own without going underwater in equity, which is a great thing. As you pump money into the house and you're doing these remodeling or renovations, you're starting to increase the value of your home. And another cool thing as well is whenever you are doing the renovations, and if it is going to be your personal house, you get to customize the entire house from top to bottom if you're doing a full gut. But you get to customize the entire house from top to bottom of what it looks like, and you can finally have that Pinterest house that you've always been dreaming of. So let's go over some cons real quick. It's a lot of hard work. The first one is it's a hard work. It's not easy, as I mentioned a second ago. It's really hard. You're taking risk. You're taking risk of working with shoddy contractors who don't know what they're doing, and if you're not doing the work yourself, but you're taking risks with shoddy contractors. You never know what you're going to get inside the walls when you start opening them up. Is there termite damage? Is there moisture problems? Is there roof leaks? I mean, you never really know until you start tearing things apart, getting inside and see what they look like. But it's a lot of hard work. It's not easy, so that is a major con. But hard work pays off in the end. Everyone knows that. And it could cost more than you think. That's another con. It can cost more than you think. You may have a budget of $30,000 to $40,000 for a remodel or renovation, depending on how big the property is. But let's just say it's 30 to 40 grand to remodel a house. Again, when you start opening up walls and changing things around, that may have been your budget from the very beginning, but it's probably not your budget anymore. You're probably going to go over. So you want to I would like to, whenever we're doing fix and flips, I always like to be super conservative with my numbers. I always love to, go a little bit overboard with my estimations on repairs. But you never really know what you're going to get to or how much it's going to cost until you really get inside. Some of the walls are breaking things apart and repairing everything. But yeah, just know that it can cost more than you think it can. So just prepare yourself for something like that if it ever happened. Another major con is the entire project can actually take longer than anticipated. Depending on how many snags you run along the way, if you did certain things that you shouldn't have done, prior to getting something else done, right? Like you do them in phases. Each thing goes into different phases, and you don't want to jump ahead of yourself and fix an issue, and then you screwed yourself because now you got to go back, rip it all apart, and then fix another problem first, and then redo everything over. So you don't want to jump ahead of yourself too much. It is a common problem, especially when it comes to first-time flippers or first-time buyers, or when it comes to fixer-uppers. They don't really know what to expect along the way, and things just happen, right? Things just happen. Maybe you run out of money, maybe you had an emergency, but just expect that it may take longer than you anticipated to get that entire project done. All right, so moving on. How can you buy a fixer-upper the smart way? I'm gonna go over a couple of things of how you could actually buy the smart way and how we find property when it comes to fixer-uppers. First things first is how to find them. Most of the time, the market's been incredibly competitive right now, but most of the time we find ours on the MLS, and here, in this case in Houston, it's HAR. We get on HAR all the time. We're looking every day anyways, so most of the properties that we do find are on the MLS. That is one fantastic avenue, but if there's nothing that we can find during that time, what we normally do is reach out to wholesalers, other investors who may have some rental property they want to unload, or other investors who just took on too much and they want to unload their fixer-upper as well. There's other avenues that are very time consuming. A lot of investors call them driving for dollars, meaning you're going to drive around older established neighborhoods, find something that looks abandoned or neglected, and you could write the address down, track down the owner, and see if they're willing to sell it to you. But those are some ways that you can definitely find some investment properties or fixer-uppers. There's multiple avenues. There's literally dozens of ways to find it, but the main thing that we find them on, or the two main things that we find investment properties, are through wholesalers and the MLS, which most of the time it's the MLS. So be realistic about your price and your skills. just because, you know, someone, I mean, we lowball people all the time when we're trying to get a good deal for fixer-uppers, but be realistic. You know, if they're offering, if the asking price is $400,000, if you throw them a $200,000, chances are they're not going to take it. So be a little realistic. Don't insult them too crazy. If you want to lowball them, by all means, go for it. We do it all the time. That's how we pick up some really, really good deals. But it may take some time to actually get that to happen. I mean, we may make 50 offers before we end up picking one good one, or picking up one good one. But be realistic, though. I mean, just be, you know, if they're asking 400K and you throw them a 200K and you get denied, don't get emotional. Or you get, you know, they reject your offer. Don't get emotional, because I mean that's it's half the price of what they're asking. So be realistic, and know your skills too. Know your skills is an important one. Know what you're comfortable. Know what you can do. I mean, if you're going to DIY some of this stuff and you're going to go in and save some money, we call sweat equity. If you're going to go in and, you know, fix all this stuff yourself, know your skills. It's okay. It is 100% okay to start subbing things out at this point if you want to. If you don't do something that you don't have a skill set on, if that makes sense. The third thing you want to do when you're buying smart is line up financing. So again, you need to ask yourself at this point, is it going to be for a personal investment, the house that you're going to live in, or is it going to be a fix and flip? If it's a fix and flip, and if you're not using cash and you are going to finance it, most of the time people use hard money loans, right? A hard money loan in today's standards, what we do, or what's pretty typical right now, is, you know, we do about 12% interest only payments, and it's a 12-month loan. And sometimes, you know, hard money loans or hard money lenders, they want some skin in the game. Maybe they want, you know, 5–10% down. But, you know, you could find a private money lender that's willing to do maybe as low as 3 to 5% down of the purchase price, and then you just make your origination points, or you pay your origination points, which is typically about 2%. You know, and let's say, for example, if it's a 12% interest only payments, if the loan is $300,000, you're looking at about $3,000 a month, just in interest only payments. And because that's strictly for, you know, if you're gonna do fix and flips, because you don't plan on holding it that long, right? Because you're gonna fix it, you're gonna sell it, basically flip the house, and you know, get your return on investment off of it. But on the flip side of things, if you are going to have if it's going to be a personal investment, your financing would be it's going to be conventional. You can't use FHA or VA. Well, you probably couldn't. Well, no, you couldn't use VA. There's a pretty hefty inspection that comes along with that. But conventional financing is what you're going to have to go with. But keep in mind, whenever you go traditional routes like that and conventional financing, you do have to, or the property has to be habitable. Right? It can't be a complete dump where the roof's falling apart in pieces. No lender's going to lend on that. So it does have to be habitable condition. So that's the drawback of going conventional financing, and you typically do have to have 20% down, which is a pretty large sum of money. So if you're doing a fix and flip, then the best route is to go with a cash or a hard money lender. And I would take that back. It's not just 20%. If it's your personal house, then you could do, the conventional 5% down. So I'd take that back. But if it's a secondary home that you're not going to be living in and it's going to be an investment, then with the conventional financing, you have to do 20% down. This next tip right here is probably one of the most important ones: is find reliable contractors. Man, the contractors are everywhere. They're just like realtors. You throw a rock in the crowd, you could probably hit 10 of us. But the contractors are all over the place, and I can't stress this enough. Get with somebody that's reliable. It's not uncommon. We hear it all the time. Buyers getting ripped off, homeowners getting ripped off. Maybe they give them a very large portion up front to begin the project, and then you never hear from them again. I personally know somebody who lost $40,000, and the contractor was never heard of again, and they only probably did about $5 grand of work. So be very cautious who you're giving money to. Have signed contracts. Make sure they're a reliable company, reliable people to work with. And I would never suggest giving money up front to people. If you want to give them a very tiny portion just to start the job, go for it. But giving them a large sum of cash up front is just completely unacceptable to me, and I wouldn't do it. And if your contractor disagrees with it, then go separate ways. It's okay. Somebody else will give him money up front. I mean, he may not be a bad guy, but you always want to protect yourself and protect your investment. And by somebody that you don't know personally, never worked with before, handing them a $40,000 check just doesn't seem reasonable to me. All right, so another quick tip is look for the right renovations. You know, just because a wall might be a bad color doesn't necessarily mean whenever you go to paint it, you're doing some hefty renovations and now voila, you can sell the house for $75,000 more than you bought it for. That's not the case. Look for the right renovations that are going to, you know, put a lot of appreciation into the property. It's going to increase the value. Now, some of those major components too, like HVAC. You got HVAC, you have roofing, you have your kitchen, your flooring inside the house. Yes, paint colors are important, but we're talking about big ticket items here. So look for those types of renovations, and if they're completely outdated and it looks just, man, the house hasn't been updated since the 70s, then it's probably a good property to go after. So the next thing I do want to cover is get estimates on how much this project is going to cost you. Before you make the purchase, if they have a subject property in mind and you're able to go check it out and you have never actually flipped a house before, you have no idea what you're looking at, I would suggest getting with a contractor, maybe somebody that you know already, and then you guys go just take a look at the house real quick, and they'll be able to give you, based off of what you're wanting to do with it, they'll be able to give you some quick estimates, ballpark figures, and then you can make your calculations from there. If that's, you know, if you're going to go with, you know, flipping it, fixing it, and living in it, on the other hand, may not be that important to you to get estimates right away, because if you know it's going to take quite a bit of money up front, or not quite, if you know it's going to take quite a bit of money to do it, you're going to live there anyways, getting those estimates may not be important because you don't have a strict formula to follow when it comes to such as like investors do. One of the most important ones, the tip that I could say is not every single house is worth going after, so you need to know when to walk away. There's so many different variables that come into play here, whether it's the purchase price or how bad is the house, like is it a borderline tear down, who knows what the property you're looking at looks like, right? But just know when to walk away is the most important part. I mean, don't have an emotional attachment. If you've been looking for a long time and you've never really had any good success with somebody accepting your offers, and you know, you finally found one that you really like, but you know, the owners may not be able to, they may not want to come down that much on price to whatever you're trying to buy it at. Don't get an emotional attachment to it. It's okay, walk away from it. Or on the other side of things, if the property's in such bad shape, like it's borderline tear down, if you're not comfortable with a new construction house, you might want to walk away. Because there are some houses out there that just aren't worth going for. The numbers have to make sense from an investment standpoint on either side, actually. So on either side, the numbers do have to make sense. You don't want to buy something that you're gonna, you know, at such high of a market value. If you're gonna live in there and you're gonna, you know, pump a bunch of money into it that you're never gonna get back because you'll be underwater in equity. Or on the other side of things, if you're an investor trying to fix and flip, your numbers have to make sense, obviously. All right, well, that's pretty much gonna wrap it up for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. This wasn't a complete comprehensive review of doing fix and flips. It was just a quick video that I wanted to put out there. If you want to get real into depth with it and have a conversation with me about fixing and flipping houses or buying one to live in and have building up some really good amount of equity in there to sell one day, give me a shout. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have, share my personal experiences with it. I'm always open to helping people out, so don't be afraid to reach out to me. Like I said, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have for me. Well, that's going to wrap up today's video. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you have any further questions, you can visit us at our website. I'll leave the link in the description below with all my contact information. So that's going to wrap it up for today's video. If you like this video, make sure you smash that subscribe button down below. And that's it. I'm Andrew with the Lake Team, and I'll see you guys next week.